dude, this will stay in my head forever. You had said, because I was getting overwhelmed about one particular thing in my business that had nothing to do with making music sound great. And that's my job. And you were like, dude, you only have to be a perfectionist at the engineering. Like, that's the only time you really need to be a perfectionist. And that actually was like a big light bulb moment because it made me realize that, okay, if I cut out all this time from this other stuff that I'm being a perfectionist at, and I really dump it into um, like engineering, my music, my work, then let's see like the fruit of that. And man, I feel like like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had just like a project come in, and it was the culmination of opportunity and preparation. And it's a big song, big artist. Like it was the definition of a barn burner. It was just so good. And it all just, I mean, it was a big like, afterwards, just if Mario was here, he would have gotten two fist bumps
A fist bump,
easily. Yeah,
yeah.
because and maybe a chest bump too. But like,
Bro hugs.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because it was just totally the culmination of all of that thought process.
Right, so today we got a client interview with my client Mike. I'm super excited for this one. Mike, thanks for jumping on, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Let's do it. So, like we were talking about before this, really like the goal for this is just to hear a little bit about your story and going through the program and in the hopes that like somebody who's listening to this, who's maybe going through your situation would benefit from it. So, first thing is just tell us like who you are, what you do, and where you live.
Well, my name is Mike. I am a mastering engineer, which is a role that is part of the music making process. So I am really an audio engineer, but the mastering part of it is the last part of the music making process. And I work on a lot of Christian music, a lot of country music. I've had a lot of different accolades like platinum, gold records, Juno Awards, a bunch of like number ones on radio and stuff, and even a couple Grammy nominations, which is super cool.
Let's go.
And yeah, I own my own studio, and I get to work, by myself for myself, which is such a huge blessing. And I get to do all of it from Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is pretty crazy because I used to live in New York and work at a studio there and work at a studio in Nashville. And a lot of my clients are based out of Nashville. So, yeah, huge blessing to get to do what I get to do.
And I'm glad that you mentioned some of the records because you're not just a mastering engineer, you're one of the best in the world. And I think that's really cool to just see like the music that you've worked on and the records and stuff. So, how did you hear about me and Driven Dadpreneur originally?
Well, this is a good story. So, one night I was just so drained and super tired and scrolling through Instagram, just trying to fall asleep, whatever it was. I was falling asleep, but I saw this guy named Mario just just speaking to me like as if he was looking right through the screen at me and talking about me as a dad and like working really hard to grow my business. And this was like, I think this was like a month or 2 months after my second daughter was born. So all the
Yeah.
dads out there can totally relate to the just sitting in bed scrolling. And I must have hit follow on Mario, and I didn't remember because the next morning when I went to my DMs, there was Mario like, "Hey dude, what's up?" And we just got chatting. And the more I looked into Mario, I was like, man, and the more I got to talk to him just through the DM, was like, yeah, I think I need to do this. And yeah, I mean, I scheduled that call, and it was just like, this is amazing. This guy was literally sent to me from God, like as a,
Mm.
the second savior that I needed in my life at that point. And
That's
it
cool,
just,
man.
yeah, it was perfect timing.
Well, I think you and I have talked about this. Like I always put it out there and I pray that God would bring me the right people that he knows that I can help. And it seems like you were kind of praying for help at the same time. And I just really do think it was a God thing. And so you mentioned you were just kind of drained, but like, what was it? Can you tell us a little bit about like what your situation was like when you first saw that video or before the coaching process that, either things you were struggling with or what you were looking for support on that made you want to get started?
Yeah. So because of just the nature of my job, I'm the last guy in the process. So I get a lot of files last minute, like some of the biggest quick, like I get asked to do turnarounds in like an hour. And so my life is just like bombarded and I get drained. And, you know, um, I still do wake up early, but I have an assistant now who helps me. But at that time, I was waking up at 4 a.m. and working until 6 o'clock at night and just like grinding my brains out. And literally a treadmill operator, as Dave Ramsey puts it. I was just doing everything, chief everything officer. That was me, and just like seeing, just having that second kid, and just this, it's just a whole new dynamic. It's so different at that point, and just the intense desire that I have to be a really great dad to my kids and also good husband to my wife, um, and the best engineer I possibly can. You're burning the candles at both ends and in the middle, and that was me. And I think the thing that was appealing about you, Mario, was just bringing some light and encouragement just through like it was to you it may have been a little bit but for me it was like, oh man, this is like a water hose or a
Hmm.
fire hydrant. Like it was just like I need more of this. And even just like looking into you a little bit and like listening to the other interviews, it was like, shoot, I feel like I'm on the same page with these other dads. And you know they all kind of found something different, and maybe I could, it's like a buffet and I could pick a little bit from all these different experiences. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I was at.
Yeah, because I think that's like the theme. It's like you're really driven and you've got a successful business and you want that to be as successful as possible. But you also like love being a dad and you want to be the best possible dad you can be. And you want to be the best possible husband. And you just feel like you're just getting pulled in all of these different directions. And you're just, that it's just hard to like balance all of those. I see that like that's like the consistent theme with everybody who has gone through the program. So if anybody's in that space, like that's exactly where we've all been.
Yep.
So once you got started, like what were some of the most beneficial aspects of the program?
Man. Um, well, I think if I'm thinking in the order of the way that we did stuff, the assessment test of like learning that I'm a perfectionist,
Hmm.
which I probably already knew that, but doing a test like that and then having you speak into like even just things that we were talking about, like issues in business, issues in life, and just realizing like, whoa, okay, yeah, need to tone it down a little bit in some of these
Yeah.
areas that don't really need to be perfect. Even today, I was dealing with something like that where I just had to take like 20 steps back and realize like, oh man, I'm being too much of a perfectionist with this one thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, dude, this will stay in my head forever. You had said, because I was getting overwhelmed about one particular thing in my business that had nothing to do with making music sound great. And that's my job. And you were like, dude, you only have to be a perfectionist at the engineering. Like, that's the only time you really need to be a perfectionist. And that actually was like a big light bulb moment because it made me realize that, okay, if I cut out all this time from this other stuff that I'm being a perfectionist at, and I really dump it into um, like engineering, my music, my work, then let's see like the fruit of that. And man, I feel like like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had just like a project come in, and it was the culmination of opportunity and preparation, and it's a big song, big artist. Like it was the definition of a barn burner. It was just so good. And it all just, I mean, it was a big like, afterwards, just if Mario was here, he would have gotten two fist bumps
A fist bump,
easily. Yeah.
yeah.
Cause, and maybe a chest bump too, but like,
Bro hugs.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Cause it was just totally the culmination of all of that thought process of just like everybody and everything just shut up, we're going to do this thing, and I nailed it so good. And that, to me, that was huge, that was pivotal, because it really helped me. Like, I deleted like 2/3 of my quarterly goals because it was like, oh, none of this, this is all fluff, this is
Yes.
actually like, this isn't going to help. And then to piggyback on that, and maybe this will be the only other thing I mentioned, but like the 10-year clarity exercise, it's still rattling my cage today. I know, but I talk about it
Yeah.
every call, but like it is, it gave me so much vision of who that guy is, and
Yeah.
how that guy, like as you put it, if he came in this room today, what would he tell me not to do, and what would he tell me to do? And I think just talking about it right now, those two things, the 10-year clarity and just knowing that I'm a perfectionist, it's trying to fuse those together to understand what actually do I need to focus on to perfect to get to that point and
Yeah.
cut out all the fluff. So,
This is
anyways,
really good. Let's dive into this because I think a lot of people will maybe resonate with this because you have a pattern of thinking of perfection, which actually has served you really well in your craft and has helped you in your career. But that's also the thing that creates a lot of stress and overwhelm in the other areas of your life. And
yep,
so then that's where like understanding that pattern and when to use it as a strength and when it's like creating the stress is that thing that really helped you. And I think that's been really cool to see. The other thing, I don't know if you remember this, but like on our first call, I remember you kind of saying that you felt like you were on the verge of a breakthrough.
yeah,
And it was the thing that you just talked about is I felt like you were at that point where you were about to transition from like your previous self to that next level version of you. And once we got clear on the long-term vision and got clear on who you needed to be, then you could kind of separate your current pattern of thinking from who you needed to be.
yep.
Can you talk about that? Like how that future self kind of concept, how that helped you at all with your decision making, with business? Yeah, I don't know. I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it still has to do with, um, if that person, well, let me back up. So doing that 10-year clarity exercise, um, it was just huge because I did the exercise, and then can I talk about what the exercise was?
Yeah, talk about it. Talk
Okay,
about it.
okay.
Yeah.
So like you just write this story basically of what your day looks like from the moment you wake up till you go to sleep in 10 years from now, if you succeeded in everything that you tried to do and there was no failure. So I just wrote it all down, and I just like put it into a story, and by the end of it, I was like, holy cow, I think I'm halfway there to
Yeah, I remember
this.
that.
And that was just like this realization of like, okay, well, what do I have to do? And I'm not trying to like stroke my ego or like,
Yeah.
anything like that. It's a clarity exercise. It's to
Yeah.
realize that,
And a
okay,
confidence boost.
yeah, and that's actually what happened was like, okay, I'm halfway there. So if that guy comes in today, and also just thinking about who I am today versus 10 years ago, like we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary on
Yeah.
Friday, like 3 4 days ago. And um thinking about who that guy was and just how different I am today. And it's like, man, that guy in 10 years is gonna be so different. And if he
Hmm.
came in today and just like knocked down the walls and just told me everything I needed to know, like how much faster, like what's that mindset? How much faster I get to that point? And that, like, it lit a fire under my butt because it made me realize, like, okay, let's pivot here a little bit and think about where the perfectionism needs to go, to make this work, to make business work, to make, um, you talk about work life harmony, which is something I mean, I'm not an expert. Um, you know, I'm still working on that, and that still is the goal. But like trying to get all these things, how do we get the business to be to that point? What are the things we need to cut out, and then what are the things we need to perfect? What do we need to do in life to cut out and perfect? What do we need to do on myself personally to cut out, perfect? And now that there's been this like clear vision of to do that, yeah, the fire has just been it's been hot under my
It's been
butt.
hot. I love that.
Yeah, so
I've seen so much growth in your confidence too, and really like owning that you're one of the best at what you do, and still like and being grateful for where you're at and pushing for more. So I've just seen the result of that, and it's been so cool to watch. So, what are some of the results that you're the most proud of like after going through the program that stand out to you?
well, if I haven't said it already, just clear vision. The clarity exercise again was just like it rattles my cage. I think about it every day, um, because it's just where I want to be. And I think just having clear vision, that was just something. Yeah, just I don't know. All the exercises that do that were great. Confidence for sure. Just you know, just trying to be. I don't know. I definitely got a boost of confidence in like walking into my space here and like walking into a project and being like, yep, I got this. Like this is, not that I never had that before, but this is like a different level of, you know, um, just going for it. And like I even had a couple shootouts. Like something in my world is they'll hire two different engineers and they want to get their take on something. And then they'll just play, they'll label one A and one B and they'll play them and they'll be like, yep, we like B or we like A or whatever it is. And like I've just been winning shootouts like crazy. And there was a shootout I won recently that I went into it because I knew, like I didn't have to. And the thing is with the shootout, you don't hear the other guy's stuff,
Yeah.
so like you don't know what they did. They could have made something sound a certain way, and you wouldn't have known about it. So like you kind of have to go into that with like you got to be confident on your stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's the PG way of putting it, but we're
Love that.
PG here. But like you got to be confident with your stuff. And there was a shootout I won recently that and sometimes you get to hear the other guys after you win. I think that should be standard. But like I got to hear this guys and this guy's like huge engineer, and I've been waiting for my shot at doing a shootout against him. And I'm happy to report I smoked him. Like it
Let's
was,
go.
yeah. But
Come
like
on.
going into that, I mean that obviously can give you a boost of confidence. But like going into that, like I was like, all right, I got this. Like this is, you kind of have to, as always, just like psych yourself up. Just or pump yourself up. Hype
That's so
hype
cool.
yourself up. The hype hall, the whole thing. So,
Yeah. Dude, that's
anyways,
awesome.
yeah,
Can you talk about, because like one of the things you mentioned before is like you were doing everything yourself.
yep,
But like through this process, getting clear on your vision, you started to like hire, interview what figured out who you needed and you made that hire. So can you talk about how that process has gone and how that has, you know, that has helped you through this process of like hiring the assistant engineer?
yeah. So again, the clarity exercise, realizing where I want to go, where I want to be, And then just kind of like even backtracking from that. And it's like, okay, well, what do I need in place to make these all happen? Um, and I've been looking for an assistant. I had an assistant a few years ago, and it was extremely helpful during my first kid. I tried to find someone during the second kid. It didn't work out. And I just kind of, hoped for the best. And thankfully it went well. But I'm double, like the amount of work I have is double from what I had from the last assistant. And so my world is just so chaotic. And through that clarity exercise, I was able to kind of use the same thing um, in thinking about a week that was the busiest week I've ever had of my entire career. Um, and it just allowed me to, like, again, take 20 steps backwards, talk about, I made a voice memo and just said, these are all the things that have to happen for an assistant. Like, they need to do all this stuff. And then it helped me realize, okay, these are the things I need. And even just like talking about it with you, there was an exercise that we did um, that just made me realize, like, okay, you know, if I want my life to look like this with family and all this stuff, I can't do this by myself. And I really, so I just, you and I, we worked out like a little bit of a plan to try to find somebody. And I kind of like went the other direction with the plan and just like hit up a friend and said, do you know anybody? And then he gave me two names and I picked one of them, and it turned out he became my assistant, but also just fantastic. He's crushing, he's killing it
That's
at
awesome.
the job. And it has been huge in the sense of like, wow, okay, I found somebody I can trust. I found somebody that is crushing it. Um, Man, there's more possibilities here. Like to,
Yeah.
and it's just opening my mind up to not only that 10-year clarity exercise, but what can we do beyond that? You know, like,
Mm,
like sky's the limit. It's going to
let's
take,
go.
as Alex Hermosi says, it takes many horses to bring a chariot to the moon. So
Mm.
I think I'm butchering his quote, but it's pretty
We're
much
gonna
that.
go with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna go with it. I
yeah,
love that. Yeah, no, it just
yeah.
seems like the clarity, the vision, the confidence has given you just like what you need to follow through and execute and create some of that freedom that you were looking for. It's been really cool. So, as you're just kind of like reflecting on the whole process, how have you changed as a person through this process?
Um, as a person, I think just realizing that, I mean, the confidence part for sure. I think the perfectionist part, just even in my personal life, like I had brought up that example about the cleaning the garage to you. It was like, it's like, oh, I went out to clean the garage and I moved this one thing, and it's like, well, shoot, I could go to Lowe's real quick and get like a shelf for all these boxes. So if I do that, then I should probably get the can of paint to paint this one area, in the garage, and but then it was like, oh shoot, this is going to take like an hour and a half, and the girls are napping for an hour and a half, so I won't even like get the garage done. And then my wife's going to come out here and be like, hey, like, why didn't you finish the garage? And then so in that moment I was like, okay, what would Mario do? He would tell me, listen, dude, just clean the garage like you're planning to do it. Like going back to the perfectionism thing. And by the end of that nap time, my wife did come out and she was like, man, the garage looks great. So it was just me the whole time, like being really like a perfectionist about the garage. So I'm bringing that up because personally, I have identified that in a lot of areas in my life of just like gotta tone it down, the perfectionism, and not everything's gonna be perfect. Um, and I think even just like applying that to my marriage and stuff, like not saying that I don't want my marriage perfect. I do, as perfect
Yeah.
as possible, but like realizing like certain things that, um, if I want to really put a lot of effort into something, it's like, well, let's take a couple steps back and think about what really needs to be done here to make this time together, or a trip together. Like we're about to go camping, and
Yeah.
I'm like thinking about, oh man, we gotta get hot dog sticks, we gotta get marshmallow sticks, we gotta figure something out with the burgers, and like, but then she's like, we're just doing hot dogs and then we're
We'll
gonna go
figure it
out to
out.
eat one night. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like it's not really
Well,
camping that much, but you know what I mean. So
Well, that's actually one thing that's really cool because on our first call, like when I asked you like why you were really looking to make these changes, it was because you wanted to become the best possible engineer that you could, but you also wanted to be there like for your wife and your kids. And before you felt like you could never go on vacation because you always had to be like on,
right,
from like
right.
4 a.m. to 6 p.m. like you said. But now you're able to go on that camping trip and you'll be able to enjoy it and you'll still get work done through, your assistant. So I just think it's like really cool the way that things have played out and just seeing you implement everything. So as we're just kind of wrapping up here, any pieces of advice for somebody who is in the beginning stage or they were where you were when you were kind of first thinking about it? Any advice for somebody who's in that position?
Um, Advice. Well, to that person, I was right there. I was mowing my lawn, listening to a few of these interviews, and my gut was telling me, man, I really got to talk to this guy. And I would say to you, your gut is always right. So you should definitely do that, es- especially if you are feeling that overwhelm, um, as a dad, as a business owner, or just as a high performer. Because just having somebody like Mario that you can, somebody said it in one of the interviews that I listened to, but a professional friend. I love that phrase because I feel like that is a great like, man, you called me out a few times and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, it was like, all right, this guy's for real. And I don't know, there was so many times like every week where I'd be like, I'm gonna write that down and talk to Mario about it because I
Mm.
know we're gonna have our conversation. And not that these are things I wouldn't talk to other friends about. I feel like you to that person who's listening to this, Mario's the guy who will be quick to be like, boom. He'll just like tell you what you need to hear. And and it's always great. It's always good advice. And yeah, just click on the link. Get the call set up with Mario. I'm telling you, it's really, if for some, yeah, you're gonna love it. So just work with Mario.
Let's go. That's awesome. It's been the thing that I just like really admire about you is how much you've grown in your confidence, how much you have stepped up as a leader in getting clear on that vision and like executing, bringing on another hire, creating freedom, doing all of that, but just like having so much fun and joy in the process. That's the way that I am too. Like I love doing big things, I love doing hard things, but I love having fun in the process. And it's been awesome working with you, Mike. So I just appreciate you just taking action, executing. Appreciate you referring me to some of your friends and other people like that. So just want to say thank you, man. And for anybody who is listening to this on the fence, you're feeling that same thing that Mike's talking about, the overwhelm, know that you're capable of more. Um, would love to talk to you. Send me a DM on Instagram or book a call in the link below and would love to talk to you. So Mike, thanks for sharing your story, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Keep having fun. Let's
Let's
do it.
go. That was awesome. You're the man. Let's
Yeah.
go. Boom.